The folks at Grow and Fell Meadery up in Vermont are getting ready for their next sour series release called Meaderitaville. Meaderitaville is the fourth in the Havoc Sour series and will be just as twisted and delicious as previous series sours Rumble, Curmudgeon, and Sour Mead Maker. Meaderitaville is inspired by dreams of the beach, and Nate at the Meadery calls it beach bum chic. Meaderitaville will have a pineapple base with added orange, lime, and agave nectar to amp up the arita factor. And yes, it will be finished sour. Check it out along with the other deliciously drinkable Grow and Fell and Havoc meads at family-owned and operated growandfell.com. That's GROENNFELL. Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, May 27th, 2021. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Steve Wilkes and I dive into Water Profile Sampler number 2. This time, it's with reverse osmosis water and a pinch of roasted barley. Will Steve and I be able to tell bitter from malty and balanced? If you go to basicbrewing.com, you can find archives of our audio and video shows, and if you go to basicbrewingshop.com, you can find our DVDs and our Brewer's Logbooks. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Basic Brewing, and find our show page on Facebook as well. If you're reciting along, that tripped you up, I bet. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing. And thanks very much to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. Last night, thanks to being fully vaccinated, Steve Wilkes and I actually stood in the same kitchen to record a video episode about my pineapple puree no-boil Centennial Pale Ale. It was great to be in the same room, even though we were a little rusty being in person. Steve liked the beer, by the way. Spoiler. And I was going to release the video about my 100% Rausch Maltz smoked beer next week, but if I get it finished, I may put this one next in the queue because I'm pretty excited about it. Financial supporters will know this weekend because they will see it first, whatever's next. Now, I have to figure out what to brew next. I'm torn between a blackberry puree hard seltzer and a dark sweet cherry puree Belgian brown ale. So stay tuned for that. I'm liking the puree in the keg so far. Of course, it hasn't stopped up my dip tube yet. Nobody likes a stopped up dip tube. That and dough balls. Hey, speaking of tuning into things, our friends and sponsors at Imperial Organic Yeast now have a YouTube channel with all kinds of cool, useful videos that are very well produced, fairly short, and straight to the point. You can find videos on topics such as forced fermentation, making a starter, pitching yeast, a diacetyl force test, a wort stability test, and others. And there's a time-lapse video that shows the difference pitch rate makes between 50, 100, 150, and the 200 billion cells that come in each easy-to-open Imperial pouch. Spoiler, it's pretty dramatic. I like to say my strip plate is dusty because I don't use it anymore for moderate gravity 5-gallon batches, and my airlock is usually bubbling before bedtime. And you've only got a short time to get your hands on the current seasonal yeast from Imperial until the end of May. L09 Que Bueno is the featured yeast from Imperial. It's terrific for cleanly fermented lagers like my Mexican-inspired lager that you saw on the show. Ask your local homebrew shop about Imperial Organic Yeast and check them out at imperialyeast.com. That's imperialyeast.com. Okay, let's go to the porch to talk with Steve Wilkes of stevesbrewshop.com as we taste the second of our series of water profile samplers. Steve Wilkes, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thanks, James. It's a pleasure to be back.
We're on the world's loudest porch. The wood chipper has stopped. The traffic noise has dulled somewhat, and the Baltimore Oriole has moved off a little bit, but just a warning: if you're triggered by the noise of outdoors, you may want to skip past this one. I don't know, but we're sitting outside. We just recorded our first in-person Basic Brewing video episode in over a year.
I just kicked the.
Do you kick the table?
The official
I'm
table.
going to scoot it away from you a little
All
bit.
right.
That's our safety team here. So we're coming off of this fruit puree, pineapple puree beer, which was pretty tasty.
It was very good.
Spoiler for upcoming video episode. And here we have the second water sampler. And the idea for the water profile sampler was sent in by a home brewer named...
I don't want to say it. I would pronounce this Danzi.
We started off the last episode. I called him Danzy, and then you got all fancy, or maybe fancy, and
well, it's my years and years of German training.
Turns out it's Danzy.
It's Danzy.
It's Danzy.
I knew that because he's an American.
Danzy Nickel.
Yeah.
Sent in the idea for this, and we're very grateful. Most of all because Danzy did the calculations for each 6-pack of how much of the minerals that I should be adding into these.
Oh, nice.
And I'm using the exact same recipe as last time. The only difference is that I have added to each 6-pack 1 ounce or 28 grams of roasted barley. And when I was measuring these out in your shop, I measured out 1 ounce, and it's like, that's nothing.
Right.
I thought, this may change the color of the beer, but, in my mind, I'm thinking, this is not going to have a dramatic impact on the flavor of the beer, but we won't talk about the flavor yet. But it is super dark.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me talk about the recipe before I forget. These were all grain batches, 3 6-packs of beer. In each one, I put 2 pounds or 900 grams of American two-row, or Brees calls it, brewer's malt?
Yeah.
Brewer's
malt.
And then 1 ounce or 28 grams of roasted barley. And I put that into 5 quarts or 4.7 liters of water at 164 degrees Celsius or 73 C, which gave me a mash rest temperature of 153 degrees Fahrenheit or 67.2 C, which I put the pot into the... there goes the dog. It's like a Disney sound effects record. But I put this into the preheated oven for an hour. So I rested an hour, I collected my wort, and at the beginning of a 30-minute boil, I put 8 grams. I didn't put 80 ounces. 8 grams of crystal hops with an alpha acid of 3.4%. So just boil for 30 minutes, and there's the Blue Jay. And then I chilled in an ice bath, and I fermented with 3 grams of Saf Ale USO5. Now, to each of these batches, into the water, the strike water, I put, for profile number 1, which is balanced, I put 0.5 grams of gypsum, 0.75 grams of calcium chloride, for a chloride to sulfite ratio of 1.3, or balanced.
Okay.
The second water profile, I put 1 gram of gypsum, 0.5 grams of calcium chloride for a chloride to sulfite ratio of 0.43, or bitter. And then for the third, I put 0.5 grams of gypsum, 1.5 grams of calcium chloride for a chloride to sulfite ratio of 2.6 for malty. And thanks again to Danzy for figuring all that stuff out for us. Now, the original gravity of the balanced one was 1069. The final gravity was 1010 for an ABV of 7.9%. The bitter one started out at 1069, finished out at 1012 for an ABV of 7.6%, and then the malty one started out at 1067, finished at 1012 for an ABV of 7.3%. But the differences between them was pretty inconsequential inconsequential in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
Maybe either just a margin of error, or, maybe the burner was on a little higher with, one than the other for the boiling. So, anyway. So what we have here is 3 beers in front of us, and the bottle caps have been identified, but they've been covered with duct tape, which my wife, Susan, randomized these and put 1, 2, and 3 on top of them, so we don't know which one is which. One significant difference, the first water profile sampler that we did, I used filtered tap water, which still had minerals in it.
Right.
Our Beaver Water District or whatever it is, those minerals, and we found them to be quite minerally, right?
Yes.
This time I used reverse osmosis water from the grocery store. So it says drinking water on it, and if you look, it says purified by reverse osmosis, and there's no indication on the ingredient list or whatever that there's any kind of chemicals or minerals or anything added. So what we've got here is a clean slate for these chemicals to be added in, which is what Danzy specified in the first one. I just forgot.
Okay.
So my fault. So, do these beers taste overly chemically or salty or whatever like the last ones did?
No, that I can tell you. Yeah.
And it's the same recipe. It's the exact same recipe as last time, only with the addition of an ounce or 28 grams of roasted barley in each 6-pack. Okay. So, to me, the hop character is significantly different from the last one, in that there's no saltiness, there's no astringency, these are incredibly drinkable.
Yes. Yeah, the last time they were okay, but one of the beers, I'm just trying to remember back, but I remember one of them I thought really was oddly salty. It was oddly, it just didn't taste very good. These don't suffer from that at all.
No.
So,
no, I would gladly have a pint of each of these. Now, the last time we got it right, and it was pretty straightforward, or at least we thought it was, to pick out which was which.
Yeah.
This so far, and get your bingo card ready.
Yeah.
When they were cold, they were really close together. Now that they've warmed up, it'll be interesting to see how they are shaping up. The color, it's kind of like a Pepsi or
yeah, it is
a Coca-Cola colored. And I'll put my phone on the table so it doesn't go back and forth. Okay, so beer number 1. Let's taste beer number 1.
Well, it just is. I get a hint of mint.
Huh.
So I'm going to attribute that to the hop, but it's really good. It's got a nice. All the beers have a nice chocolate note to them, and this one does, to be sure, and it's nicely alcoholic. None of them are hot, but they're all in the 7% range, and so it's got a nice little alcoholic backbone, and so it's warming, without being hot, and it's kind of drinks like a porter, except it's a little strong for one.
I would classify it maybe, because it's got some hop character, maybe as more of an American brown ale.
Yeah. That's a good call.
Which Chris Colby has hated on in the past. But I don't hate this one.
No, I don't hate
it. Just that little bit of roasted barley really has brought out a lot of good, fun, roasty, chocolatey characteristics without being overpowering.
It does really. It reminds me of boy, it reminds me of a York peppermint patty. Just a little bit. I mean, the mintiness is not very strong. I don't want to overplay that, but I definitely get a little bit of that, and I think that's the hops playing in there, and it's really nice.
These are crystal hops.
Oh yeah, okay.
Same as last time.
Yeah,
but again, a completely different hop character.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, completely different, and well, that's about it. It's not a, this isn't drinking a giant, complex, Russian Imperial Stout with 85 layers of things going on. But it's a really nice, drinkable beer, and one that if you brewed it on purpose, as a bag, should be pretty proud of, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So beer number 1 is pretty malty to me.
Yeah.
Not planting a seed in your mind, but it's the hop characteristics are not super bright.
Nope.
But the chocolatiness and the maltiness, to me,
it's very chocolatey.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I have sipped all three, but I'm just wondering how it's going to compare when I kind of zero in terms of how chocolatey or malty. So right now, I guess, yeah. It's pretty malty.
Let's take a quick break from sampling to talk about our friends and sponsors Desiree and Dave of HighGravityBrew.com. Steve and I both have electric brew-in-a-bag systems from High Gravity. Steve has the Warthog 120-volt 5-gallon setup, and I have the 240-volt 10-gallon setup. One of the things that makes shopping for electric gear on HighGravityBrew.com great is the variety and selection of electric systems, from 5 gallons to 2 barrels, and whether you like single, 2-vessel, or 3, HighGravityBrew.com can help you take the pain out of propane. In fact, you can use the Build Your Own Brewing System feature on HighGravityBrew.com to configure a setup that's just right for you. Whether you want to buy pieces and parts to use with gear that you've already got, or if you like me and just want to get a turnkey system that's already put together, HighGravityBrew.com has you covered. Check it all out at family-owned and operated HighGravityBrew.com. All right, beer.
Okay.
Beer number 2.
Beer number 2.
And I have to say that there's not a whole lot of hop aroma on any of these. I would say beer number 2 has more of a brightness on the tongue.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it seems to be a little bit lighter than number 1. Yeah.
And the hop flavor is coming through more as well. There's kind of a fruitiness.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's more of an American brown ale than the first one.
Yeah, and I also think it's a little hard to tell because of the cups aren't clear. They're kind of an opaque.
Yeah.
But the color of the beer seems to be substantially lighter as well.
Huh. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think it is a lighter colored beer. Yeah, I mean lighter, a lighter, brighter flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean color.
Right.
Very interesting.
Now, beer number 3. There's a roastiness there. The roastiness, to me, lingers on the end.
Yeah. Wow, boy, these are pretty close together to me.
Yeah.
Number 3 and number 1, number 1 and number 3 are very close together. I think number 2 is the most different.
Mm-hmm. I looked back in the archives, and last time I said that I had the conversation with John Palmer about the water profile for the Beaver Water District, which is our water. It wasn't John Palmer. It was Kai Troyster.
Oh, yeah.
And Kai, to distill it all down into a nugget, basically said that our water profile would be good for pale ales.
Yeah, I could.
So
Yeah.
So on top of that water profile, then you put all the other all the other minerals that we had last time, and then you get a whole lot of more accentuated, which I think would explain why the last three beers were more sort of chemically and bitter, and you know, the hop character was a lot more pronounced in those last three beers than they were
Right.
this time. So, what do you think about the hop character at number 3?
Well, I don't know. I don't get a whole lot of hops in it. Well, gosh, it's certainly there. But I don't get a whole lot of hops in it. I don't know. I don't get a whole lot.
In the initial round of tasting, when they were still cold, I got more hop flavor than I'm getting now.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, for some reason, I got the most hops out of number 1.
Huh.
I got this nice, like I said, mint, kind of a real complex flavor that I couldn't pin on the malt. Although I feel like this is really hard.
Yeah.
This is really hard.
It's much harder than the first time.
Yeah. As far as trying to tell them apart, for one thing, I think they all taste really good.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these are bad, and that's kind of interesting because, you know, as a brewer, it tells you that within a certain universe, or if you stay within, you know, the rails, you can manipulate the flavor a little bit. Mm-hmm. But none of these are wildly different.
No.
They're slightly different.
In going through that round, I've formed some opinions. I'm starting to drift dangerously into making some decisions.
Yeah, I think I know what I'm gonna call. I don't have a lot of confidence in it, but I think I know what I'm gonna say is what.
But it seems like every time I take a taste, it
changes.
It's different.
Well, I know this is riveting radio.
I don't have a lot of confidence in this one. I got to tell you that each of these tastes balanced.
Yeah, they do.
Each of these tastes good. I'd be happy to have a pint of either of these. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult to, you know, starting with that reverse osmosis. There's nothing in it but water, right?
Right.
Theoretically, I guess you have H2O and nothing else.
Right. I guess. Yeah.
And there's no chlorine to have been taken out through filtering. Now the robin has come up to the nest on the porch. 2:00 Charlie, or was it 4:00 Charlie?
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should start. Gosh, this is going to be difficult. Okay. I'm gonna taste it one more time because it's about all I got left here in the cups.
So we're looking for malty accentuated,
Malty, balanced, and bitter.
Wow. Malty, balanced, and bitter. That's the law firm that handled my divorce. I work mostly with bitter.
Okay. To me, number 2 has the most residual chocolatiness,
Okay.
You may have a different opinion, and that's fine. In fact, I kind of hope you do. I hope I'm not leading you down a trail. To me, number one has kind of it's kind of the, now that I'm tasting it, it's kind of the most fruity. I don't know if that's coming from the hops. Although number three is pretty fruity too. I don't know. What are your perceptions on the three flavor wise? And
I think that number one is the maltiest of the three, and then I think that number two is the bitter, would be the one that was treated for bitterness, and number three is the one that was treated to be balanced. However, I would like to say that I think number one is all three of those. I think it's both. It's the most malty, it has the most hop character, and it is the most balanced. That's my opinion. However, I am saying that number one has been treated for maltiness, number two has been treated for bittering, and number three has been treated for balance. That's what I think.
so you're saying malty,
Yep.
bitter,
Yeah.
and balanced.
Yeah. But if I was to brew one of these, hoping to recreate it, I would try to brew number one. It's my favorite of the three, and I quite like it.
Oh.
Now, what the listening audience doesn't know is that if we get it wrong,
There'll be an electric shock.
No.
We've got electric probes attached to certain parts of our body.
well, I was going to say that Washington County will take our homes.
That would raise the stakes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so say it again. You said malty,
Bitter balance.
bitter balanced.
Multi-bitter balance.
I'm going to say malty balanced bitter.
Yeah, and that. Yeah, I don't have a. I'm not
So
particularly.
we agree on malty.
Yeah.
Number one, we say is malty.
Yes,
It's malty.
and it's malty.
It's malty. So we got that one
Okay.
right. You say number two is bitter. I say number two is balanced.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Number two is balanced.
Ah, you got it then.
So, and then number three, just to make sure, is biff.
It's Biff.
Oh, that's probably a
No, the answer is moops. Sorry.
Moops.
Moops.
Well, I was flipping a coin between the second two.
I didn't really know either. I just kind of, yeah. The first one, though, I felt pretty confident about.
Yeah.
But I would say, I still kind of stand by my statement that number one, it really accomplished all three for me. I felt like it had, I could really tell the hops were in it, and I got a really nice little hop flavor from it. It was definitely the most malty. It had the most malt character, and I felt like it was very well in balance with itself. So of the three, it was the one that I preferred by a pretty good margin.
Huh.
Which doesn't mean the other two were bad, because they weren't. But I really like number one, and it's the one I would try to brew or try to replicate.
I like number two because it had number two and three to me had kind of a lingering chocolate character that number one just didn't have.
Okay.
For some reason, and it's counterintuitive, because you would think that the one that was the most malty would have more of a lingering malty character.
Yeah.
But to me, on my palate on this day, and this temperature, with all the noise, 2 and 3 had more of a lingering chocolate aftertaste.
Well, actually, I agree with you that I just sipped them while you were saying that, and I agree that number 1 finishes drier more quickly. It clears out more quickly. So I guess then what I would say is that I prefer that.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of like the fact that when I drink it, I drink it and then it's gone. And you prefer that kind of lingering pow, that long finish.
Yeah.
Or I prefer that little shorter finish. And so
insert your joke here.
Insert punchline here. But that really does what it gets down to sometimes. Is,
preference,
preference. And if the product is well made, and you know there's no flaw in it in particular, and you really are getting down to the preference, why do you like this one more than that one? Well, it's not necessarily there's anything wrong with it, but there's some little difference that why do I like Urkel and you like Urkel?
and this episode is brought to you by Preference.
Yes,
by L'Oreal.
By L'Oreal.
So that all 3 were good.
Yeah, all 3 were good.
That's the thing, is that number 1, if you are messing with your water profile, either use a water profile calculator and put in your water to make sure that you're adjusting your water properly, or start off with reverse osmosis water, which is a clean slate,
right,
and put in the chemicals or the minerals that which mineral is a chemical, right? No. Anyway,
something other than water.
Yeah, which is also a chemical,
right?
But fix it right, and don't pile, just blindly dump in, minerals or compounds or whatever you call it to try to fix something when you don't know what's going on.
Right.
But this was delightful.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'll be looking for some ideas on how to extend this concept to the next water sampler. How are we going to apply these water profiles to we've done a hoppy beer, the first one. Maybe we go back and do the first one.
Do it again
with RO water.
Yeah.
Leave out the roasted barley, and try that first round again.
Might not be a bad idea.
And do it right.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that the second one because I thought it would be too similar.
Yeah.
And I wanted to explore what the roasted character would bring to the party.
Yeah.
But maybe, get into different base malts and see what, different water profile or water chemistry profiles would do. So,
yeah.
So there's all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. We could also do one where we, just while we're throwing out ideas, where we just do maybe not 3 beers, but just do 2. One where we compare a pale ale or an IPA made with our local water that's been filtered with the exact same beer made with RO water that's been treated with our, additions.
In order to get what's ideally like the bitter profile or whatever. Huh, that's interesting.
That would be interesting.
Or maybe add a fourth beer. I'm making more work for myself, but a fourth beer to the mix of you have the first 3 with the water profiles with the reverse osmosis water.
Yeah.
And then you add a 4th one with just our tap water filtered.
Yeah, like a controlled beer.
Yeah. Ooh.
That would be interesting.
I like that. Oh. All right. Well, this
very good.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's good to be with you in person.
Yes.
And we're vaccinated, and hopefully the science is sound and we're safe. It's been a long road.
It has.
And
it's been a year.
More than a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope everybody out there is listening is safe as well, and we'll hope that the numbers tend to go down to where we don't have to worry about this damn thing anymore.
That's right. COVID is something that we don't want to ask the question, will it ferment? We don't want to know that.
No. All right, Steve.
All right, James.
Thank you, sir.
See ya.
Well, thanks again to Steve of stevesbrewshop.com. That was a lot more difficult than the first go-around using the minerals on top of the tap water. But I'm looking forward to the next set. It should be even harder. In the meantime, if you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com, or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. That's all until next time. Till then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dotson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.